Itauma there?
Stunning win. Explosive display. We said it was going to either be a quick fight in the first 3 rounds, a lot quicker than everyone expected. But if it went past 3 or 4 rounds, it would have been a more challenging fight. You know? But he showed what he can do in the ring tonight. Great display.
Moses Itauma, as expected. Dillian just didn't allow he wanted to be in there. He's just too. All the styles all wrong. Do you know what I mean? Early on, as we said, the first couple of rounds, just too sharp. And Dillian's just too old. You know.
You think Dillian should call it a day now, Edward?
Oh yeah, that was just thank you very much boxing. And that's why I was surprised he took the fight in the first place. But I think, you know, you see he's at the end of his career. But listen, respect to Moses, he's super sharp, but, you know.
Is this superstardom for Moses Itauma?
It's a long way to go. You've got to fight a live, active heavyweight. You know what I mean? Or like these kind of guys, you know. Like, he's a brilliant talent. You know, excellent skill, but you're not really going to know till you've got someone who's active and live in the corner. But he's a brilliant talent.
If you were the promoter of Moses Itauma, who would you be looking at next?
I don't know, he's just got to move up, but sooner or later you're going to have to fight someone sort of who's active and live. But he's good enough to beat those kind of people anyway. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. He's got a massive future.
It was brutal, and this is what I feared going in. I don't like. I'm a bit. You know, when fighters give their all to the career, and you watch them throughout the years, having wars and giving everything, like Dillian Whyte against Chisora. You saw the action with the first with the AJ fight. You look at him throughout all his career. He always goes out there, gives everything, has a tear up, is exciting. You know, he's a big character, big personality. And then when they get to a stage of the career where you feel as though it's that fight where where it's kind of like it's way too much for them, and it's going to be, you know, quite a nasty ending for him, a nasty ending to a career. I kind of I was worried for Dillian going into that this would be that fight, and it was. I mean, that you don't get as it can't be any worse than that to punctuate a career, to end a career.
Let's talk about you. What's going on? 30 days, 90 days? What's going on? Usyk, what's going on?
I think Usyk wants more time. He said he's got an injury, and I guess if he wants more time, maybe it's more time to spend with his family and relax, and he deserves it. But when he's ready, we should make a deal happen. I'd love to fight him and challenge for all the belts. It'd be awesome.
Do you think he'll vacate?
I think he's just buying more time and looking at the options he has. And if he does vacate, then I'll be.
Is Dubois an option if he vacates? Who's Dubois?
Dubois pulled out of the first fight. He sort of robbed me of my world title opportunity. It could be a fight down the line. Who knows?
The highly anticipated fight between Moses Itauma and Dillian Whyte recently took place, and the aftermath has already stirred up plenty of debate among boxing enthusiasts. Before the fight, a lot of analysts had predicted that Itauma's speed, explosive power, and rising momentum would be too much for Whyte. The young fighter's potential was evident, and many saw this matchup as a way for him to establish himself as a legitimate contender. Some, like Roy Jones Jr., suggested that the fight would be a great test for Itauma before considering bigger bouts in the heavyweight division, including one with Alexander Usyk. Jones believed that if Itauma could handle Whyte's power and toughness, it would signal he was ready for more demanding opponents.
Talking about heavyweights, I don't know how much you've seen of him, this 20-year-old prodigy that we have in Moses Itauma. Incredible speed, agility, power, explosiveness. He's got a fight with Dillian Whyte coming up in Riyadh on August 16th. How much have you seen of Moses? What do you make of him?
Haven't seen a lot of him. I have seen small clips of him, but he is fighting a good fight with Dillian Whyte right now. This is the fight he needs to get that extra experience. So once he gets a few more experience fights, then you put him in with Usyk. You can't do like they did with the other kid, Big Baby from the U.S., and put him in too early because you're ruining him. You understand me? You can't put him in too early like that. So if you give him a few more test runs, Dillian Whyte is a great test run for him. If he does that, give him something a little bit higher than that, then you let him fight Usyk. Don't just rush him right to Usyk right now. Let Joseph Parker fight Usyk right now. Joseph Parker is in Usyk's time. This kid is coming up behind Usyk. When Usyk retires, this kid's still gonna be fighting.
On the other side, former welterweight champion Sean Porter raised concerns about Whyte's health and the toll that years of taking heavy punches might have on him. Porter, who retired in 2021 after a tough loss to Terrence Crawford, voiced genuine worry for Whyte's future in the sport. He pointed out that the older Whyte was now facing even bigger punches with less ability to absorb them, especially at the age of 37. It wasn't that Porter held a personal vendetta against Whyte, but the risk of serious long-term damage to Whyte's health was clear.
We're looking at this fight against Itauma, and it's like, it's basically that fight to position him. You knock off this guy who
a name
was there, and it's like the next step is only the tippy top.
If he gets past him, who would y'all tippy? Not the tippy top, but who would you throw him in there with?
Shit.
Just over.
I guess
Just over.
No,
Yeah, I'm like, does that get you a Usyk fight?
Beating Whyte. I mean,
Yeah.
technically, they could do it. He is
They would probably
the number
do it.
one ranked WBO challenger. Parker is ahead of him. Parker's the interim WBO champion.
Right.
What if you fight my man that just lost Usyk? Dubois.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight. I think Itauma, the big problem for Whyte in this fight is going to be speed, just to make it simple. But two things for Moses Itauma, who I said a couple months ago here on the show, the hype is real. The hype is deserved. And I definitely stand by that. But young fighters have to be careful with their hubris. It's a very thin line. You have to be extremely confident to believe you can knock out every other man on the planet that's your size, and yet at the same time not overconfident, not to be filled with too much hubris before you've proven yourself.
Others, like Ty Mitchell, thought the fight would be closer than many anticipated. Mitchell believed that while Itauma would undoubtedly be a threat in the early rounds with his speed and power, Whyte's experience could tip the balance if the fight dragged into the later stages. Mitchell viewed the first half as Itauma's opportunity to dominate, but he suspected that Whyte's stamina and ability to endure might start to shine through as the fight wore on.
I understand, have you been sparring Dillian Whyte?
Yeah, so I was out in Portugal. I was sparring Dillian Whyte for his upcoming fight against Moses. Obviously, I'm southpaw. I'm tricky. I can take a dig, so we was having it in sparring. And yeah, it was good. It was good. He seems in amazing shape. His mind's in the right place. It's not going to be no easy feat because we know how good Moses is, but I think it's a far more 50-50 fight than what people think, than what I've listened to people think. I think as this getting closer, people are starting to realize actually Dillian's no mug. So it'll be a good fight, man. I think it'll be very dangerous for Dillian the first 5 rounds because he's so quick and explosive, Moses. But I think the longer the fight goes on, the more it leans. If the fight gets stopped in the first half of the fight, I think it's more likely to be Dillian. But I think anything after that, I favour Dillian to win.
Filip Hrgović shared a similar opinion, praising Itauma's skills, but also suggesting that Whyte might be able to push the young prospect into what he referred to as deep waters. Hrgović had seen Whyte withstand punishment before, and believed that Itauma had yet to face an opponent with that kind of durability. If Whyte stuck to a solid game plan and came in with the right conditioning, Hrgović could envision a scenario where Itauma would be tested like never before, especially as the rounds piled on.
Here's how Dillian Whyte wins against Moses Itauma, Filip Hrgović has told us. Filip Hrgović has a point in this. It's interesting because Boxing News 24 has reported that he's talked about Moses Itauma's not stamina so much, but stickability. And he's talked about who has he fought in the amateur ranks and who has he fought so far. Dillian Whyte has far more experience. That also means he's got far more rounds on him. And he said that if he can, because Itauma likes to load up with pot shots and single shots that can knock you out. And yes, one of the reasons why I like him, because he's a big offer, isn't he, in that respect. However, if Dillian Whyte can withstand that early onslaught and take him into the later rounds, Dillian, who looks good actually, looks ready, could, because they're talking about the bits of fat at the side of saddlebags at the side of Moses Itauma's body that seemingly are resistant to training. Those saddlebags could drag him down in the later rounds. We don't know, do we? you know, we can presume, but you can't. One thing you don't have to presume is that some of my dinner is on my shirt. And look, I've had my beard cut, it's all there. Anyway, it's nice though. Anyway, they're presuming that he could bring him into the later rounds. That's the deep water, and Moses Itauma will sink. His engine will go, and that will be it. We don't know, do we? We also don't know how many rounds have affected Dillian Whyte and whether he is up for, well, I'll take him right to the final round and I'll still be throwing. It all depends how he feels, and it all depends if Moses Itauma, who is not a regular late fight person, he might think, oh, I like it, got a second wind. You never know, do you? But Hrgović has got a point, and it's a point that I haven't heard made anywhere else. Nice one. Makes that fight even more interesting, which is good because the rest of the card isn't. Ta-ta.
In contrast, Derek Chisora had been one of the more vocal critics of the matchup, initially warning that Itauma's speed and skill would be a dangerous combination for the aging Whyte. Chisora, who had faced Whyte in the ring multiple times, had urged him not to take the fight, convinced that Itauma was a rising star who would overwhelm him. However, Chisora, like many others, softened his stance after giving it more thought. While still respecting Itauma's potential, Chisora admitted that he wouldn't be entirely surprised if Whyte managed to pull off a shock upset.
Yeah, first of all, we had saying people gonna say he's gonna die in the ring and get killed in the ring. That's from your best friend Dillian Whyte. Yeah, he's about to fucking die. But I phoned Moses. I was like, Moses, please just take it easy. But I won't be surprised if Dillian wins that fight. You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, experience. You know, you're gonna definitely see something come out of Moses that hasn't been yet, so I guess it would be a test.
You said you phoned Dillian Whyte when that fight was being talked about and told him not to take it, is that right? Yeah.
I told him not to take it. I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you on the fight guy who's 24 years old? Fuck that.
21. He's 21.
Huh?
He's 21.
He's 21?
Or 20. He's 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Oh, kiss my ass, man. Fuck that guy.
And he's young. I mean,
and they even called me. They're like, oh, do you want to come spar him? I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Tony Bellew also weighed in with a somewhat grim outlook for Whyte. While Bellew acknowledged that the veteran could secure a decent payday from the fight, he didn't have much faith in Whyte's chances of victory. Bellew believed that Itauma was simply the wrong matchup for Whyte at this stage of his career. Given Itauma's explosive fighting style and impressive knockout record, Bellew saw a fast, possibly early stoppage as a likely outcome.
He's not ready for Alexander Usyk in any way, shape or form. A man who hasn't been past 6 or 7 rounds. I think the division isn't that strong when it comes to the amount of ability that he has. I don't think anyone else has that amount of actual ability. What he lacks in experience, he makes up for in clear ability.
Do you think Warren would put him in for a world title shot within a year?
Put him in with Dillian Whyte next. Tells you everything you need to know, because Dillian has beat the likes of Joseph Parker. Dillian has beaten almost all the top heavyweights. So to throw him in with Dillian Whyte, and we haven't seen, even though Dillian isn't at that same level when he beat Joseph Parker, no one's still done him. He's still virtually, I haven't seen him beat for quite a long time. So the matchmaking tells you all you need to know. When he's matched with Dillian Whyte next out, I think that tells you all you need to know, in my opinion. So I expect him to be from Dillian Whyte. But you've got to look at it. What's the next step after Dillian Whyte?
I think a few more like that.
Yeah, but who is there? So he goes Dillian Whyte, who does he go next? Joseph Parker? I just think they let him off the leash. He's not ready, don't get me wrong, he's not ready for Alexander Usyk in any way, shape or form. A man who hasn't been past 6 or 7 rounds cannot be ready for Alexander Usyk.
Despite Itauma's clear favoritism in the eyes of many, Tyson Fury issued a word of caution. Fury, ever the seasoned pro, warned that Itauma should not underestimate Whyte's toughness. Fury made a comparison to the shocking upset when Jared Anderson had lost to Martin Bakole, emphasizing that experienced heavyweights like Whyte had a way of surprising the younger prospects who thought they had the fight in the bag.
That's a good fight, actually, especially for Moses. I think it's a very good time to fight Dillian. He's had a couple of years out the ring. But, you know, make no mistakes, Dillian Whyte is a massive puncher to head and body. I know he's taking it very serious. I'm speaking to Ty Mitchell, who's in training camp with him. And looking forward to the fight. You know, it's a big step up for Moses because he hasn't really fought anybody on Dillian's level. The old Dillian, it was a couple of years ago. And it's going to be interesting to see how much that Dillian Whyte has left. And could this be potential? I think it does have the potential to do what Martin McCauley did to Jared Anderson. Maybe it's too early, or maybe he passes with flying colours, and that's why you got to watch it and find out. But one thing I will say about Moses is he's a very good fighter, good little boxer, good puncher, and a lovely kid as well. It's like a sponge. You tell him something, he absorbs it and he listens, and that's the great thing about the young kids who's coming up. And he's only 20 years old. I told him a few years ago, forget about breaking records, take your time, you've only got one career, and just enjoy it, because I remember when I was 19, 20, and now 36 has gone like that, very quick.
Dave Coldwell echoed Fury's concerns, though he remained skeptical of Whyte's ability to handle a fighter like Itauma at this stage of his career. Coldwell's analysis focused on the idea that timing in boxing is everything, and in his eyes, Whyte's best years were behind him. Coldwell believed that Itauma's sharpness, quickness, and ability to set traps would be too much for the veteran, especially in the early rounds. He predicted that Itauma would likely land some big shots early on, possibly breaking down Whyte before the fight even reached the championship rounds.
It's a very difficult fight for him. You know, he can't afford to bite on Itauma's triggers and feints. He's got to land something early to get some respect off of Moses as well. And it's called the body snatcher. I think he's got to dig that body. He's got to try and take away the sharpness from Itauma by investing early doors, you know, on the body. He's got fast feet, sharp angles. You need to slow that down, and you know, if Dillian's got enough left, then that's what he's gonna have to do. Dillian's got a good jab himself. Might not be razor blade sharp, but he needs to be knocking Moses' head back while he then can step in and land some body shots. But it's a tough task.
On the other hand, Frank Warren had some reservations about Itauma's ability to handle Whyte's power should the fight go into the later rounds. Warren, like others, recognized Itauma's potential as a future world champion, but he also pointed out that Itauma's chin had never been tested by a fighter like Whyte, known for his brutal punching power. While Itauma had been able to dispatch of opponents with ease up to that point, Warren believed that surviving the kind of punishment Whyte was capable of delivering would be an entirely different test.
What is your forecast for this fight?
I think he's gonna be in a tough fight. I know he's got the punch power to hurt and stop Dillian Whyte, but I also know that Dillian Whyte also has the punch power to cause damage. And the one thing with Moses at the moment is that's not been tested. So we'll see.
But do you think are you still a bit tough fight, but you expect him to stop him?
I expect him. I believe he will win the fight. I believe he'll win the fight. How he wins it, we'll see. For me, beating him is a big thing. Right. However he does it, you know, and I want to see the other side of him as well. I want to see him. You know, I want to see him in a tough 12-round fight where he comes through it and boxes his way through it. You know, he's not a one-trick pony. He can box, but as I say. You know, this is a tough one. This is going to be. This is a fans' fight.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
That's what it is. It is a fans' fight.
Carl Frampton had been impressed by Itauma's technical skills and sharp boxing fundamentals. Frampton was of the opinion that Itauma could end the fight early, especially if he was able to land clean, precise shots in the early rounds. Frampton saw Itauma as a fighter with superior hand speed and a deep understanding of the technical aspects of boxing, which could prove overwhelming for Whyte in the early rounds.
I think it's good night, Mr. Whyte.
Yeah, but I mean, do you think that the matchmaking's great for him?
Not for Dillian, I don't know. I think it's great for Moses because ultimately he gets a decent name like Dillian Whyte on his resume, which isn't the Dillian Whyte that was fighting 2 or 3 years ago. If he blasts him out, which I think he will, then Moses, the mythology around Moses just gets bigger and wider and more bankable.
There'll be a bit of hype around the fight as well, which will raise Moses' profile too.
Another question for you then. So if you say it's not good matchmaking for Dillian Whyte, where would you put Dillian Whyte then? That's what I'm saying. Like, what opportunity is going to come from?
Well, the last time I opened
him?
my mouth about Whyte, I put him in with Fabio Wardley and got smacked around everybody for being a bit of a tit. So I'm not even going to answer that question. Thanks very much.
Brilliant.
How do you see it in the event that this fight is made, which we all think it will be? I do think it will be Moses Itauma. I do think that he will go through Dillian, and I think he'll go through him compellingly. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you.
You think the same?
I just think that timing is key in boxing. Dillian Whyte's been a great ambassador for the sport. I don't think he's the fighter he once was, and I think that Moses Itauma is something special, and I think he wins and wins quite comfortably.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Spencer, and I think it could be early as well. I think he's a very neat, tidy boxer. Moses clearly punches hard, fastest hands in the heavyweight division, I think. I think it could be an early night.
In the midst of all this, Dave Allen also had his take on how the fight would play out. Allen believed that while Itauma was the likely victor, it wouldn't be an easy win. Allen foresaw Whyte trying to use his experience to slow the pace of the fight and frustrate Itauma early on. However, Allen felt that Itauma's relentless pressure would eventually wear down the veteran, leading to a stoppage somewhere between the 6th and 8th rounds.
My early prediction is an Itauma stoppage. I don't think it happens too early though. I don't think it happens in 1 or 2. I think it'd probably be 6, 7, 8. I think Dillian Whyte will come to survive. I think early on he'll get behind the jab, he'll move. And Itauma, I think he's really clever actually. I watch him and you wouldn't believe he was 20. And he never boxed as a senior either. He never boxed as a senior amateur. He never, I wouldn't have thought he boxed right on Edgard in that case. So, but he's very clever. He does some very clever things beyond his experience. Because he's not the most experienced either, really. Yes, I think Dillian will be looking to frustrate him. The only holes I've seen in Itauma was when he boxed Espindola and Dobyshenko. He didn't get frustrated when he didn't have the success he wanted. When Dobyshenko and Espindola made him miss and weren't giving enough. I expect Dillian Whyte to do that, really. That's what I think he will do. And I don't think Itauma's going to punch straight through Dillian Whyte. I'd be very surprised. Very, very surprised. I think as time goes on, I think he'll chip away at him and wear him down. And Dillian will have to have a go eventually, and that's when Itauma will land something.
So how did you react to this fight? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more boxing content like this.